Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this show and rely on the information within it to help guide your understanding of not just the market, but the process and how you want to interact with your real estate agent. That's a really big part of doing this show, is helping you guys understand the relationship that you should have with the person that you should trust to navigate this process for you. And if that's something I can do for you, if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, whether it be helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or just giving you some general knowledge to better help you prepare for the road ahead, please give me a call. My number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So I want to give you guys some tips here for buying a house in a seller's market. Because as I explained earlier on in the program, the month supply of inventory in our market, Tri-County area, is 3 months. It's a seller's market. Now, of course, there are areas that are going to provide more opportunities for buyers. There are some markets that are a buyer's market now. But across the board, average everything out, it's a seller's market. Prices are going up, inventory is going down. It's a little bit of a problem for buyers. So how do you compete in this market where there are more buyers than there are listings? Well, I think the first thing you need to do, which is what I was mentioning last segment, and a little bit of the first segment, is that you really need to understand the market and understand your opportunities within those specific areas. And I think part of that, of course, is understanding available inventory, and then how we as real estate agents find inventory when there is a limited number of homes available for sale. Because what you see online is not the true representation of the homes available for you to purchase. The challenge is you don't have a way of filling in the gap. You don't know what those other homes are. That's part of what your real estate agent should be doing for you. The real estate agent that you hire shouldn't just be looking at the MLS. They should be looking at for sale by owners. They should be looking at people that used to have their home on the market that didn't sell. Maybe they would entertain an offer. We've gone so far, and we've done literally dozens of transactions where a buyer wanted to be in a neighborhood. They had an idea of what they wanted, and we literally cold called the whole neighborhood. Dozens of closings have come from that for us. But it requires work. And that's the thing. If you're working with a real estate agent that isn't willing to do the work, you're going to be limited to what you can see on the MLS, which goes on Zillow, and you're not getting the full picture. And the challenge is real estate agents, I realize the irony in this because I've one of them, but they're becoming a little more lazy. They've been a little spoiled by a really good market. Let's just first put it that way. The reason so many agents are getting into the business is because it's easier to sell real estate. You know, people want to transact. There are no real headwinds in our market to getting a buyer into a home. We don't have all these crazy things going on like we did 10 years ago. So we have all these agents that continue to say, yep, I'm going to get my license because I see my buddy who's a part-time agent who works at my job and he sold 4 homes last year and he made $25,000 or whatever it is. You know, what I always say is that businesses are run by systems and systems are run by people. And if you don't have good people and you don't have good systems, your business is not going to be good. And so, yes, we do rely on our systems and our processes and our people, but it's not a replacement for the work. So you have to align yourself with a real estate agent that's willing to do the work. You also need to align yourself with a lender that's going to get you as approved as possible for a loan before you even find a house. You know, there's some lenders out there that'll say, well, wait till you find a house and then we'll take you through the underwriting process. Not my lenders. My preferred lenders will take your information and they will process your file as if you've already found that house and you want to buy it. And the really cool thing about that is that once they start digging a little deeper into your financials, and yes, it does feel like somebody's kind of rifling through your sock drawer, your underwear drawer, and it's a little invasive, but that just is what it is. There's really no getting around that, and that's not the individual lender's fault. It's just the process these days. So we don't have another issue like we did 12 years ago. But the lender that you work with should be able to get you approved for a loan. The cool thing about that is that when you go and you find the house you want to buy, You can say, hey, I've already got a mortgage. I just needed to find the right house. We need to make sure it appraises and that the inspection passes, but I'm good to go. I've got a mortgage. I'm basically a cash buyer. That is what strengthens your offer and allows that seller to remove a little doubt that that deal's ever going to close. Because in this market, and I tell this to for sale by owners all the time, and it's the gosh darn truth, it's pretty easy to put it under contract, but it's a lot harder to get it closed these days. And so work with a lender that's willing to get you approved for a loan before you find the house you want to buy. It essentially makes you a cash buyer. Another thing I want to tell you just really quickly while it's on my mind, doesn't necessarily have to do with anything regarding buying a house in a seller's market, but it's important for you to know. If you're looking at properties, you need to be wary of home surveillance devices, Alexa, Nest cams, whatever the Google thing is. I don't know because I don't have it, but all of these different devices can literally, like even there are cameras on refrigerators these days. So if you're in the house and, you really like it and you're sitting there with your real estate agent, you're talking about how great it is. And hey, even if I have to pay full price, I want this house. You don't know. That seller could be literally watching what you're doing. And I know that's creepy. In fact, we have new contracts market-wide for all of South Carolina in 2020. And part of that is the disclosure about surveillance systems. And every once in a while when we're working with a seller, we'll say, well, yeah, I was listening to the buyer as they were walking through the house. You now have to acknowledge that that could be the case, which means you now need to watch what you say when you're walking through these homes. And if you think that that's bad, wait until the industry, which is actively trying to replace real estate agents with technology, wait until that comes out. Wait until how invasive that feels. So just watch what you say just be mindful of surveillance-based devices when you're walking through homes. I know you probably never thought you'd have to think about that, but there you go. It's real. It's happening now. So just be careful. Another thing I'll say is that everybody really wants to lowball, and ultimately the decision's yours, as to how you want to proceed. But my word of caution here is to allow your agent to provide you with their opinion and suggestions. I can't tell you the number of times where we've walked through a home with a client and they say they like it. And I say, okay, great. Let me go back. Let me run the numbers. Let's figure out what this house is actually worth. And then I'll tell you what I think we can do to get a good deal on it. Because that also necessitates me having a conversation with the listing agent to try and extract from information out of them to see how desperate they are to sell. I want to peek at their cards. If this is a poker match, I want a little peek over the table. I want to see what they're working with. And you do that by asking good questions. Because agents love to talk. And so you ask the right questions, you start to find out the motivation of the seller, and we then take that back and we use that to construct our offer. If we know that that seller is really motivated to sell, that then allows us to be more comfortable with a lowball offer. But if we know that, 15 other people saw that home in the past 4 days, guess what's coming? A multiple offer situation. So you need to allow just a little bit of time, not much, and your agent should be really effective and efficient in gathering this information to provide you with their analysis, opinion, suggestion, and then move forward. Because I can't tell you how many times a buyer that, we will do that. We'll do that process. Let's say it's listed for $450 and I tell them to, offer $440 and ask for $5,000 in closing costs. And ultimately we get the house. They were going to, but we had another offer that we were competing with, whatever the scenario is. But there are plenty of times where we're like, wow, we were thinking about offering $400, knowing that that offer is not going to get accepted. So here's a little trick. You need to determine the price at which you're going to get the seller to respond. You want to make an offer low enough to where you're going to get a response out of the seller without them saying, no, take a hike, not interested, make another offer, because then you're negotiating against yourself. So you want to make an offer just attractive enough to be able to see what they're working with, get them to counter your counter, and then you can play the game. But all of this is situation specific. If we see a house that we love and we know that there are offers that are going to be coming in, you got to go for it. If it's something that's been on the market for, 60, 90, 120, 180 days, and you're the only person at the table, then yeah, you can play the game a little more. You can come in lower. You can take a little more time between your responses. ultimately to try and get a better deal on the property. But, this kind of leads me to my last thing is really, really quickly, which is, secure the property at a deal that you're happy with, at least initially. When you first negotiate that deal, you've got your price and your terms. Obviously, you want to settle on something that you're happy with so that if everything else remained the same, you're a happy camper. You don't have cold feet. But then once you get it under contract, then try and beat up the seller a little bit afterwards through things like inspections or additional points in negotiation along the way, because there's the home inspection, termite inspection. Maybe you have a due diligence period that allows you to ask for a few more things. You've got your financing contingent. There are all these different things that you can use to your advantage as a buyer to ask the seller to negotiate a better deal for you in order to move forward. And the reality is, the further you get in the process, the closer that seller is to making the decision of, okay, am I going to pack this place up and get ready to move? Because time's ticking. I got to go. I got to make some decisions. And so every once in a while, you catch that seller that's like, whatever, just, yeah, fine. Let's do that. I want to sell. I want to move. And then that's where you get them. That's how you kind of win as a buyer in this market. And we work with a lot of sellers, and so we understand that strategy and protect them against that. So when we come back, I want to talk briefly about rent-to-own scenarios, some things you need to watch out for. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And again, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to call me at 843-345-1273 or 400-8009. That's 843-400-8009, or go to listingsincharleston.com, and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.